Hey everyone, welcome back to Steady English Online, your cozy little place to practice real English through real conversations. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake, and today's topic connects really nicely to our last episode about motivation, but today we're going a little deeper. We're talking about how to build discipline daily.
Yes, and I think this is such an important distinction. Motivation is a feeling, but discipline is a practice. It's something you actually build over time, day by day, even on days when motivation is nowhere to be found.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people believe discipline means being harsh with yourself, forcing yourself through sheer willpower. But honestly, real discipline is often much gentler and more sustainable than that.
Today, we're going to cover what discipline actually means, small daily habits that build it, how to talk about consistency and setbacks in English, and how to stay disciplined without burning yourself out.
And of course, real vocabulary, real role-play conversations, so you can practice your English while learning something genuinely useful.
Stick around until the end for our full practice conversation, where we bring everything together naturally.
Let's get into it.
So, Jake, let's start with the big question. How would you actually define discipline in your own words?
Honestly, I'd say discipline is the ability to keep doing something consistently even when you don't feel like it, even when it's boring, even when there's no immediate reward.
I love that definition, and I think it's really important to separate discipline from perfection, because so many people give up on discipline the moment they miss one day, thinking they've failed completely.
Right. Real discipline actually includes room for imperfection. It's about the overall pattern over time, not one single flawless streak.
Let's talk about a really useful phrase here. Showing up, which is such a common way to describe discipline in English. The most important part of discipline is just showing up, even on the days you don't feel like it.
That's such a great phrase, simple but powerful. Let's practice using it. Anna, tell me about a time discipline meant simply showing up, even without much motivation.
Sure. Honestly, there were so many mornings I really didn't want to go for my run, but I made myself show up anyway, even if it was just a short, slow jog. And over time, that consistency mattered more than any single perfect workout.
That's such a genuine example. Let's talk about another useful phrase, consistency over intensity. I try to focus on consistency over intensity. Doing a little bit every day matters more than doing a lot occasionally.
Great phrase, and such an important mindset shift for building lasting discipline. Let's do a quick role play exploring this idea. Imagine two friends discussing their approach to a new goal.
I'm trying to get back into reading more, but I keep going all in for a few days and then completely stopping.
Honestly, that happens to a lot of people. Maybe try focusing on consistency over intensity, like just 10 pages a day, instead of trying to read for hours all at once.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Small and steady sounds a lot more sustainable than intense bursts followed by burnout.
Exactly. See, listeners, that's really the heart of discipline. Small, steady, sustainable action over time, rather than occasional intense effort.
Let's build our vocabulary toolkit now, since there are so many useful expressions in English connected to discipline and consistency.
Great idea. Let's start with basic phrases. I'm trying to build better habits. I'm working on staying consistent. I'm trying to stick to my routine.
Right. Stick to is such a useful phrasal verb here, meaning to continue doing something without giving up. I've been sticking to my morning routine for almost a month now.
Let's practice this. Jake, tell me about something you've been sticking to lately.
Sure, I've actually been sticking to a no-phone rule for the first hour after I wake up, and it's honestly made such a big difference in how my mornings feel.
That's such a great example. Let's talk about another useful phrase, falling off track, which describes losing consistency, often temporarily. I fell off track with my workouts last month because of a busy work schedule.
Right, and closely related, Getting back on track, describing returning to a habit after a break. After a rough couple of weeks, I finally got back on track with my writing routine.
Let's practice these both together. Jake, tell me about a time you fell off track and how you got back on again.
Sure, I'll take this one. Honestly, I fell off track with my meditation practice during a really stressful month at work. But once things calmed down a bit, I made a small effort to get back on track, just 5 minutes a day at first.
Perfect. Such a natural, honest example. And notice how it shows discipline isn't about never falling off track, it's about how you respond afterward.
Let's talk about one more useful phrase, building momentum. Once I built some momentum with my daily writing, it became so much easier to keep going.
Great phrase, describing how consistency naturally builds on itself over time, making future consistency easier. Let's summarize this vocabulary section. For building habits, stick to. Build better habits. For interruptions, fall off track. Get back on track. And for growth over time, build momentum. Consistency over intensity.
Now let's get into the practical part. Small daily habits that genuinely build discipline over time. Not big dramatic changes, but small sustainable actions.
Great. Let's start with one of the most popular ones, making your bed every morning. It sounds small, but many people say it sets a tone of accomplishment right at the start of the day.
Right, there's a great phrase for this, starting the day with a small win. Making my bed every morning might seem small, but it really does start my day with a small win.
Let's practice this. Jake, tell me about a small morning habit that helps set a productive tone for your day.
Sure. Honestly, I always drink a full glass of water before I even check my phone. It's such a small thing, but it really does help me start the day feeling a bit more intentional.
That's a lovely example. Let's talk about another useful daily habit, planning the next day the night before. I always write down my top 3 priorities for tomorrow before I go to bed.
Right, and this connects to a great phrase, removing decision fatigue, which we actually touched on a little in our motivation episode too, reducing the number of small decisions you need to make in the moment.
Let's practice this idea. Jake, tell me about how planning ahead helps you stay disciplined.
Sure, I'll take this one. When I plan my day the night before, I don't waste time in the morning wondering what to focus on first. I already know exactly where to start.
Perfect. Such a practical example. Let's talk about one more small habit, time blocking, setting aside specific chunks of time for specific tasks. I block off an hour every morning specifically for writing. No distractions, no exceptions.
Great tool. And let's talk about protecting that time too, using the phrase protecting your time. I try to really protect that morning hour. I don't let meetings or messages interrupt it if I can help it.
Let's do a role play bringing a few of these small habits together. Imagine 2 coworkers discussing how they stay disciplined with their daily tasks.
Honestly, I've been struggling to stay consistent with my to-do list lately.
Have you tried planning it the night before? I find that removing that decision in the morning really helps me get started faster.
That's a good idea. I usually just wing it in the morning, which probably isn't helping.
Yeah, and maybe try time blocking too. Even just 1 protected hour for your most important task before anything else pulls your attention.
I like that. I think I'll try both of those this week.
See, listeners, notice how naturally these practical habits came up in a real, casual conversation between coworkers. Genuine, useful advice, not a rigid, formal list.
Now let's talk about something really important and honestly often ignored in discipline conversations. How to talk about setbacks and missed days without falling into an all-or-nothing mindset.
Great point. And this connects back to something we discussed in our motivation episode too. Self-compassion really matters here, just as much as consistency itself.
Right. Let's talk about a useful phrase, the 2-day rule. The idea is missing 1 day is completely normal, but try not to miss 2 days in a row, which helps prevent a single slip from turning into a longer break.
Let's practice this. Jake, tell me about using the 2-day rule after missing a habit.
Sure, I'll take this one. I missed my workout on Tuesday because I was just exhausted, but I made sure not to skip Wednesday too, and that really helped me stay on track overall.
That's such a healthy, realistic approach. Let's talk about another useful phrase, progress, not perfection. I try to remind myself this is about progress, not perfection. One missed day doesn't erase weeks of consistency.
Great mindset. Let's practice a role play where someone is feeling discouraged after missing a few days.
Honestly, I missed my journaling habit for almost a whole week, and now I feel like there's no point in even starting again.
I totally understand that feeling, but honestly, missing a week doesn't erase all the progress you made before that. It's about progress, not perfection, right?
That's true. I think I was being a little too hard on myself about it.
Completely understandable, but the best thing you can do now is just start again today. No need to dwell on the missed days.
You're right. I think I'll just start tonight with a small entry. Nothing fancy.
Perfect example, listeners. Gently challenging an all-or-nothing mindset and encouraging a simple return to the habit without guilt or shame attached.
Let's talk about one more useful phrase here. Falling down doesn't mean failing. A nice, gentle way to reframe setbacks as a normal part of any long-term discipline journey, not a sign of failure at all.
Now let's talk about something really important, how to build discipline without pushing yourself into burnout, because sustainable discipline actually requires rest and balance too.
Great point. And I think a lot of people mistakenly believe discipline means constant, non-stop effort, when really genuine long-term discipline includes intentional rest as part of the plan.
Right. Let's talk about a useful phrase, built-in rest. I make sure to include built-in rest days in my workout routine, not as a failure, but as part of the actual plan.
Let's practice this. Jake, tell me about how you build rest into your own routines.
Sure. Honestly, I take one full day off from work emails every weekend, no exceptions. It's become such an important part of staying consistent and motivated during the rest of the week.
That's such a healthy example. Let's talk about another useful phrase, sustainable pace. I try to find a sustainable pace rather than pushing myself so hard that I burn out within a few weeks.
Great mindset. Let's do a role play exploring this balance. Imagine two friends discussing an ambitious new goal.
I'm trying to wake up at 5 every single morning, no days off at all, to really build discipline.
That sounds really intense, honestly. Do you think that pace is sustainable long-term?
I hadn't really thought about it that way. I was more focused on being strict with myself.
I totally understand that instinct, but sometimes building in one flexible day or even a slightly later wake-up time on weekends can actually help you stick with it longer overall.
That's actually a good point. Maybe a sustainable pace really does matter more than pure intensity.
Perfect example, listeners. Gently challenging an overly rigid approach and encouraging a healthier, more sustainable long-term mindset.
Let's talk about one more important idea here, listening to your body and mind, not just blindly following a rigid plan no matter what. Real discipline also means knowing when to genuinely rest, not just pushing through everything no matter the cost.
All right, time for our full practice conversation, bringing together vocabulary, small habits, setbacks, and sustainable balance, all in one natural dialogue about building discipline.
Let's set the scene. Two friends catching up about their personal goals over coffee.
Perfect. Here we go.
Hey, how's the new morning routine going?
Honestly, pretty well, though I did fall off track for a few days last week.
Oh no, what happened?
I just had a really busy stretch at work and I completely lost my rhythm for a bit.
That happens to everyone, honestly. Did you manage to get back on track?
I did, actually. I just reminded myself this is about progress, not perfection, and I started again the next morning without dwelling on it too much.
That's such a healthy mindset. What does your routine actually look like these days?
I try to stick to a few small things, drinking water first thing, planning my top 3 priorities the night before, and protecting 1 hour in the morning for focused work.
That sounds really manageable, honestly, not overwhelming at all.
Exactly. I think that's actually why it's worked so well. I focused on consistency over intensity instead of trying to change everything all at once.
That's such a smart approach. Do you build in any rest days too, or is it every single day?
I definitely do. I take Sundays completely off from my routine. It's become such an important part of staying consistent the rest of the week.
That makes so much sense. A sustainable pace really does matter more than pure intensity in the long run.
Exactly. And honestly, just showing up most days, even imperfectly, has made such a bigger difference than I expected.
Okay, listeners, did you catch everything in that conversation? A setback discussed honestly, a healthy progress, not perfection mindset, specific small daily habits, consistency over intensity, and intentional rest built into the plan, all completely natural.
Let's talk about mistakes now, both language mistakes and mindset habits that can actually work against building real discipline.
Great point. Language mistake number 1, confusing discipline with punishment, which are actually very different concepts. Discipline is about consistent structure, not harsh self-punishment for imperfection.
Right, and this connects to a common mindset mistake too, all or nothing thinking, believing that one missed day completely ruins all your progress, when really consistency is measured over weeks and months, not single days.
Good point. Mistake number 2, using extremely harsh self-talk like, I'm so undisciplined, I always fail, which can actually make it harder to return to a habit since it attaches shame to the process.
A gentler, more accurate version would be something like, I've been inconsistent lately, but I'm going to start again today, focused on the present moment, not a permanent identity label.
Now let's talk about another common mistake, setting overly ambitious goals right from the start, which often leads to burnout within just a few weeks, rather than sustainable, long-term consistency.
Right, starting small and gradually building up is almost always more sustainable than an intense, all-in approach from day one.
Third mistake, ignoring rest completely, treating any day off as a failure rather than an intentional, healthy part of a sustainable routine.
Such an important point to repeat. Real discipline actually includes rest, not just constant, non-stop effort.
Let's go through a quick reference list of useful phrases organized by situation, since this can be really handy for listeners to remember.
Great idea. For building habits, stick to my routine, build better habits, show up consistently.
For interruptions and setbacks, fall off track, get back on track, the 2-day rule, progress, not perfection.
For small daily habits, start the day with a small win. Plan the night before. Protect your time. Time blocking.
For sustainable balance, built-in rest, sustainable pace, consistency over intensity.
And for growth over time, build momentum. Small, steady steps. Showing up matters more than perfection.
That's such a useful toolkit, listeners. Save this list or come back and re-listen to this section a few times until these phrases start feeling automatic.
Let's do a fun role-play marathon, 5 quick scenarios so you can hear these tools used again and again in different contexts.
I love this idea. Let's go fast. Scene 1, building a reading habit.
I keep trying to read more, but I never seem to stick with it for more than a few days.
Maybe try just 10 pages a day. Consistency over intensity really does make a big difference over time.
That sounds a lot more manageable. I'll give that a try.
Scene 2, staying consistent with a new diet.
I completely fell off track with my healthy eating this weekend. I feel a little discouraged.
That happens to everyone, honestly. Just remember, this is about progress, not perfection. Get back on track, starting with your next meal.
You're right, no need to wait until Monday to start again.
Scene 3, building a consistent sleep schedule.
I really want to start going to bed earlier, but I keep pushing it later every night.
Maybe try setting a small win first, like just 15 minutes earlier each night, instead of a big dramatic change all at once.
That actually sounds a lot more doable, thank you.
Scene 4. Sticking to a savings goal.
I keep meaning to save more money, but I never actually stick to a real plan.
Maybe try planning it the night before or right at the start of each week. Removing that decision in the moment really helps with consistency.
That's a good idea. I'll set up a simple weekly plan.
Scene 5. Building a consistent creative habit.
I want to write more, but I always feel like I need a huge chunk of free time before I can start.
Honestly, try protecting just 20 minutes a day instead. Building momentum matters so much more than waiting for the perfect long stretch of time.
Perfect marathon, 5 completely different everyday scenarios, and every single discipline tool we've discussed today showed up naturally across them.
Let's do a quick correction round, both grammar and tone this time. I'll read a sentence with a mistake, and Jake, you fix it.
Let's go. Sentence 1. I missed one day, so I'm just going to give up completely.
This reflects all or nothing thinking. A healthier version would be, I missed one day, but I'm going to get back on track tomorrow.
Correct. Sentence 2. A grammar issue. I'm trying to sticking to my new routine.
After trying to, we need the base form of the verb, not ing. It should be, I'm trying to stick to my new routine.
Perfect. Sentence 3. I'm so lazy and undisciplined. I never finish anything.
This is a harsh, identity-based statement. A gentler, more accurate version might be, I've struggled with consistency lately, but I'm working on it.
Great fix. Sentence 4. Real discipline means never resting, ever, no matter what.
This reflects an unhealthy, unsustainable mindset. A more accurate version would be, real discipline includes intentional rest as part of a sustainable long-term plan.
Excellent fix. Sentence 5. I don't have no motivation left at all.
This has a double negative issue. It should simply be, I don't have any motivation left at all.
Great job catching all of these, Jake, and great job to listeners who caught them too.
Let's answer a couple of common questions before we wrap up. Anna, what's something learners often ask about discipline?
A big one is, how long does it actually take to build a real habit or become truly disciplined about something?
Great question, and honestly, this varies a lot from person to person and habit to habit. But many people find it takes anywhere from a few weeks to a couple of months of consistent practice before something starts to feel more automatic.
That's such a helpful, realistic time frame to keep in mind. Another common question, what if I genuinely don't feel any different after weeks of trying to be more disciplined? Does that mean it's not working?
Not necessarily. Discipline often builds quietly in the background, and the results aren't always immediately obvious day to day. It can really help to look back over a longer period, like a full month rather than judging progress based on any single day alone.
Great clarification. One more question. Is there a difference between discipline and self-control in English?
Good question. They're closely related, but self-control often refers to resisting a specific impulse in the moment, like resisting a tempting snack, while discipline usually refers to the broader, ongoing practice of consistent habits and structure over time.
Great distinctions. I think that covers a lot of really useful ground today.
Before we recap, let's do one final story, weaving together everything we've discussed today.
I'm ready. Go for it. Okay, a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to become a more consistent runner. And honestly, my first attempt was a complete disaster. I tried running every single day, no rest days at all, pushing myself really hard from the very beginning.
I have a feeling I know where this story is going.
Exactly. Within about 2 weeks, I was completely exhausted. I got a small injury, and I ended up quitting entirely for almost 2 months afterwards.
That sounds like such a classic burnout pattern, honestly.
It really was. But eventually, I decided to try again, this time with a completely different approach. I started small, just 3 short runs a week with built-in rest days, and I focused on consistency over intensity, rather than trying to push myself as hard as possible right away.
That's such an important shift.
It made all the difference, honestly. Some weeks I missed a run, but instead of giving up completely, I just reminded myself this is about progress, not perfection, and I got back on track the next scheduled day.
How's it going for you now?
Honestly, it's been almost a year now, and running has genuinely become a natural part of my life, not something I have to force myself into anymore. It's just something I do.
That's such a beautiful, honest example, listeners, and it really shows exactly what we've talked about today. Real, lasting discipline isn't about intense, dramatic effort. It's about small, sustainable steps, self-compassion after setbacks, and genuinely built-in rest along the way.
Let's do a few more full-length scenes, this time a little longer, so we can really hear the whole process play out naturally.
Great idea. Let's start with a scene about building discipline around finances.
Okay, I really want to start saving more consistently, but every month something unexpected comes up and I end up starting from zero again.
That's such a frustrating common frustration. Have you tried automating a small amount each month so it happens without you needing to actively decide each time?
Actually, I haven't tried that. I think I've just been relying on remembering to do it manually, which clearly isn't working very well.
Removing that decision completely, even for a small amount at first, could really help build that consistency naturally.
That makes a lot of sense. I think I'll set that up this week, even if it's a small amount to start.
That's such a smart, sustainable first step. Small, automated consistency really does build up significantly over time.
Beautiful example, listeners, showing how removing manual decisions can support discipline just as much as willpower alone.
Let's do a second longer scene, this time about discipline around a language learning goal, since that connects really nicely with what our listeners are already working on.
Okay, I really want to get better at Spanish, but I keep starting and stopping. I never seem to stay consistent for more than a week or two.
That's so relatable, honestly. What does your current practice routine actually look like?
Pretty inconsistent, honestly. Sometimes an hour, sometimes nothing at all for days.
Maybe try something much smaller but more consistent, like just 10 minutes every single day, rather than occasional long sessions.
That actually sounds a lot more manageable than what I've been trying.
Exactly, and building that daily momentum, even in small amounts, usually leads to much better long-term results than occasional intense study sessions.
I think I'll commit to just 10 minutes a day starting tomorrow. That feels a lot less overwhelming.
That's such a great, sustainable plan. Small and consistent really does win over time.
Great example, listeners, applying today's discipline principles directly to language learning, something so relevant to everyone listening right now.
Let's do one final longer scene about discipline in a creative project, like working on a personal passion project outside of work.
I've been wanting to write a book for years, but I never seem to actually make consistent progress on it.
What usually gets in the way, honestly?
I think I always wait for big blocks of free time, which almost never actually happen with everything else going on.
Maybe try protecting just a small daily window instead, even 20 minutes, rather than waiting for those bigger stretches of time that rarely show up.
That's a good point. I think I've been treating it like an all-or-nothing thing, when really small, consistent progress would probably add up so much faster.
Exactly. And that consistency really does build genuine momentum over time, even if each individual session feels small on its own.
I think I'll try that starting this week. Just 20 minutes, no excuses.
That sounds like such a solid, sustainable plan.
Beautiful closing example, listeners, showing that even big, meaningful goals really do benefit from small, protected, consistent daily effort, rather than waiting for perfect conditions.
Before we recap, let's give listeners a few questions to practice on their own, out loud, right now, if you'd like to pause the episode.
Question 1. Think of a habit you'd like to build more consistently. Try describing your current pattern using today's vocabulary, like, I keep falling off track, or I'm trying to stick to.
Question 2. Try applying the consistency over intensity mindset to that habit, describing a smaller, more sustainable version of it.
Question 3. Think of a recent setback and try reframing it using progress not perfection or the 2-day rule.
Great questions. Let me answer the second one to give an example. Instead of trying to meditate for 30 minutes every single day, which I never actually managed to stick to, I'm going to focus on consistency over intensity and just commit to 5 minutes daily instead.
That's such a realistic, sustainable example. And notice how naturally that mindset shift made the goal feel so much more achievable.
That's really the final goal here, listeners. Not forcing yourself into an intense, unsustainable routine, but genuinely building small, honest, consistent habits that actually last over time.
Let's cover a few more natural idioms before we recap, because these show up constantly in everyday English when people talk about discipline and consistency.
Great idea. First one, practice makes perfect. Such a classic phrase, meaning consistent repetition leads to improvement over time. I'm still not great at public speaking, but practice makes perfect, so I keep at it.
Simple but true. Next, slow and steady wins the race, meaning consistent, gradual effort often outperforms rushed, intense bursts. I remind myself that slow and steady wins the race whenever I feel tempted to rush a big goal.
Lovely phrase, and such a perfect fit for everything we've discussed today. Next, no pain, no gain. Though this one's worth using carefully since it can sometimes reinforce unhealthy, all-or-nothing thinking if taken too literally.
Right, good point. It's more appropriate for describing genuine effort, not necessarily unhealthy pushing past your limits. Let's practice a couple of these together. Anna, tell me about using one of these idioms in your own life.
Sure. Honestly, when I started learning to cook more seriously, I was pretty bad at it for a long time, but I just kept reminding myself, practice makes perfect. And slowly, it really did get easier.
That's such a great natural example. Let's cover one more idiom, one day at a time, a really gentle, grounding phrase often used when a bigger goal feels overwhelming. I try not to think about the whole year ahead, I just take it one day at a time.
Beautiful phrase, and such a healthy mindset for building discipline without becoming overwhelmed by the bigger picture. Let's do a final quick role play using a few of these idioms naturally.
Honestly, this whole goal feels really overwhelming when I think about the whole year ahead.
I totally understand that, but try taking it one day at a time. Slow and steady really does win the race in the long run.
That's a good reminder. I think I've just been focusing on the wrong time frame.
Completely understandable. And remember, practice makes perfect. You don't need to be great at this right away.
Perfect natural use of several idioms together, listeners, exactly the kind of vocabulary that makes your English sound more fluent and natural in everyday conversation.
Let's take a moment to talk about how discipline can look really different depending on the area of life we're talking about, since the vocabulary and approach can shift slightly.
Great point. Let's talk about discipline at work first. Common phrases here include staying focused, meeting deadlines consistently, managing my time well.
Right. And let's practice this. Jake, tell me about how discipline shows up for you at work specifically.
Sure. Honestly, staying focused during long meetings is probably my biggest challenge. So I've started taking notes by hand, which really helps me stay present and engaged.
That's such a practical, honest example. Let's talk about discipline in relationships now, which might sound an unusual category, but it really does apply.
Phrases like showing up consistently for people, following through on promises, making time even when busy.
Great point. Discipline in relationships often looks like small, consistent effort too, not just big romantic gestures occasionally.
Let's practice this. Jake, tell me about discipline in a relationship or friendship context.
Sure, I'll take this one. I try to make it a habit to check in with my closest friends regularly, even just a quick message, rather than only reaching out when something big happens.
That's such a beautiful, meaningful example. Let's talk about discipline in personal finances too. Phrases like sticking to a budget, avoiding impulse purchases, consistently saving a set amount.
Right. And finally, discipline in health. Phrases like eating mindfully, staying active regularly, prioritizing sleep consistently.
Such a great overview, listeners, showing that discipline isn't just about productivity or fitness. It touches almost every meaningful area of our lives, and the same core principles, consistency over intensity, progress not perfection, apply everywhere.
All right, let's recap everything from today's episode. We started by defining discipline as consistent action over time, separate from perfection, and talked about showing up and consistency over intensity as core mindsets.
We built our vocabulary toolkit, phrases like stick to, fall off track, get back on track, and build momentum.
We covered small daily habits that genuinely build discipline, starting the day with a small win, planning the night before, and protecting focused blocks of time.
We talked honestly about setbacks, using tools like the 2-day rule and progress not perfection to avoid falling into all or nothing thinking.
We explored sustainable balance, making sure discipline includes intentional rest, using phrases like built-in rest and sustainable pace.
And we covered common mistakes, confusing discipline with punishment, harsh self-talk, overly ambitious starting goals, and ignoring rest completely.
If you remember nothing else from today, remember this. Real discipline isn't about perfection or constant intensity. It's about small, sustainable, consistent action, self-compassion after setbacks, and genuinely built-in rest along the way.
Such an important reminder. And listeners, just like always, practice really is the key here. Try applying one small, sustainable habit this week, using today's phrases to talk yourself through it honestly.
Beautifully said. All right, everyone, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with us practicing your English.
We'll see you next time right here for more easy English conversation practice.
Take care and keep speaking.
Bye, everyone.